We are already in week 2 of this fall's Supreme Court term, but today is day 1 for its newest member, Justice Brett Kavanaugh. The White House marked the occasion last night, holding a ceremonial swearing in with the other Supreme Court justices in attendance. Kavanaugh's nomination had been roiled by sexual misconduct allegations he denies. And at last night's event, President Trump went out of his way to defend Kavanaugh and blast his accusers.
On behalf of our nation, I want to apologize to Brett and the entire Kavanaugh family for the terrible pain and suffering you have been forced to endure. Our country, a man or a woman, must always be presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. And with that, I must state that you, sir, under historic scrutiny, were proven innocent.
Kavanaugh followed by singling out some of the senators who backed his nomination before pledging to be fair and impartial on the bench.
I give special gratitude to Senators Rob Portman, Susan Collins, Joe Manchin, Jon Kyl, and Lindsey Graham. They are a credit to the country and the Senate. Every American can be assured that I will be an independent and impartial justice, devoted to equal justice under law. Although the Senate confirmation process tested me, as it has tested others, it did not change me. My approach to judging remains the same.
Here to help us process not just last night's remarks, but day 1 of Justice Kavanaugh in the courtroom today is NewsHour regular Marcia Coyle. She's chief Washington correspondent for the National Law Journal. Hello, Marcia.
Hi, Judy.
So we had the comments of last night. Then today, the president was talking to reporters at the White House, and he again spoke about the Kavanaugh situation. He said the people who accused the judge, in the president's words, were evil. My question to you first is all this angry language from the president, from some Republican senators, is that having an effect on the Supreme Court?
I don't think so, Judy. I think if there is any effect, it's the court's maybe strongest desire to try to ensure that the American public views it as a nonpartisan, non-political institution. And that, of course, is the challenge ahead for the entire court and Justice Kavanaugh in particular. As they take up cases later that may be highly divisive, are they going to be able to reach a certain consensus so that they don't always divide 5-4 in a way that it's 5 Republican-appointed justices and 4 Democratic-appointed justices?
So we also had, as we said, we heard about new Justice Kavanaugh's comments last night. As we heard, he singled out the senators, some of the senators who voted for him, who fought for his confirmation. And then last week, he talked about Democrats being motivated by revenge.
Yes.
Are his words, can they just be forgotten as he moves on to the court?
No, I don't think they can. I think when he wrote an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal before he was confirmed, he did attempt to walk back some of the intense partisan language that he used at his last hearing before the Judiciary Committee. But that could almost be perceived by some people as an effort to lobby for votes for his confirmation. So it was, I think, almost incumbent on him after his confirmation, and since he was in the public ceremony last night, to say something to reassure those who did view that op-ed piece as not a genuine expression of regret, that he will be a neutral, open-minded justice.
So let's talk about today. It was first day there. You were telling us it was a large crowd of people who wanted to get into the court. What was it like?
Well, it was almost, Judy, like a normal day, except for the fact that there was a new face on the bench. And Justice Kavanaugh now sits at the extreme right end of the bench as you face it. His right next to him is Justice Kagan, who actually was an Obama-appointed justice. It was a normal normal day, I counted about 8 questions during 2 hours of argument in 2 cases, and his delivery was very professional, straightforward, much as he's been described when he sat on the appellate court. And right before the argument, he actually seemed happy to be there. He was chatting and laughing with Justice Kagan. His family, his wife and 2 daughters, were sitting in special seats that are for guests of the justices. Justice Kennedy, who had sworn him in a second time last night at the White House, also attended.
What about, Marcia, the cases that are coming up, expected to come up this term for the court? Are they the kinds of cases where we maybe can look for some momentous precedent-breaking decisions on the part of the court?
Well, right now, the docket is very low-key in terms of the cases that they've agreed to hear and decide. But that could actually change next week. In fact, it could even change this week. In the wings right now are cases involving whether our national job anti-discrimination law protects against sexual orientation discrimination. There are 2 cases involving Medicaid funding cutoffs by states for Planned Parenthood clinics. There's a case involving a World War I memorial cross on public land, which also, these are all flashpoint kinds of cases. And just today, it looks as though the case involving whether there's to be a citizenship question on the census is coming to the court very quickly. So yes, there are going to be many challenges, I think, down the road. There's so much more in the pipeline to the court involving the Trump administration that really will test the court in terms of whether they can find consensus and not appear partisan.
This new court just getting underway with the 9th justice sitting there.
An interesting time.
Marcia Coyle watching it all. Yes, for sure. Interesting. Thank you.
My pleasure, Judy.